Welcome. Hi, my name's Keith Parsons, and today we have with us Consuelo Ortiz from the Wi-Fi Alliance. Consuelo, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. We survived the chilly temperatures in Texas, and life is now getting back to normal.
Chile? Oh, you mean just normal winter?
No, we had a like Arctic cold, a lot of frozen pipes, and we were under below zero for like 450 hours
Yeah,
consecutive.
like I said, a normal winter. All depends on where you're
No,
from.
not for
I
us.
don't think you're ready for that stuff in Texas. Well, you have
No.
something new for us. One of the things about the Wi-Fi Alliance is over the last, almost 20 years now, the Wi-Fi Alliance has been building and adding new test routines, new ways of making Wi-Fi better. And today, Consuelo has with us a new way to make Wi-Fi better, and it has to do with QoS. Can you
That
share with us what you're doing with QoS now?
that is correct. So I work for Wi-Fi Alliance, which is the group of company that brings you Wi-Fi. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do because I know you like that. And also, I want to focus on quality of experience and mention a program that we just launched that is called QoS Management. And we'll allude to another two programs that were recently announced that also help enhance that quality of experience. Okay, I first want to start by saying that even though we were in the middle of a pandemic, 2020 was a good year for Wi-Fi. The propagation of Wi-Fi devices was not diminished at all. And during the pandemic, Wi-Fi came along and became the foundation to support a lot of the remote working, remote learning, remote healthcare, anything and everything that you had to do from home because we were in the pandemic. And the number of devices that are have been deployed cumulative and the ones that are currently in existence continue to grow. We have 16 billion units in use right now. And I want to talk a little bit about Wi-Fi Alliance and what we do. And as Keith alluded, we're always working to bring new capabilities to the industry in order to provide you the high performance, the security, the quality of experience, support with regulatory, and always open new frontiers. So right now we have Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E that provide a foundation to marry current and emerging use cases. And you know, Wi-Fi 6E extends the benefits into 6 gigahertz, which is great, and allows for 14 additional 80 megahertz channels and 7 extra wide 160 megahertz channels, which will be great for the industry. On that slide, we also mentioned Wi-Fi Halo based on .ah. And something that I don't know if you are aware of, but is feature releases. That means that we have a consistent cadence of yearly releases for either new programs or enhancements to existing programs. And that's something that we started a couple of years ago, and I don't think that we have advertised it as widely in the industry. So typically, feature
I
releases.
have a question for you on
Yeah,
that, Consuelo. So I've noticed you come out with new things. I never noticed that they were actually on a specific cadence. Do they come out in the spring of every year? What's the timing that's around
they
those?
typically
I know there's new stuff. I just didn't know there was timing.
Yeah, they typically comes at the end of the year, which is a terrible time for things to come out because we're all thinking about Christmas holidays. But that's when certifications start, and then the public announcements start coming out sometimes in December and sometimes January, February, March. And those are the announcements that we're currently seeing right now. Okay, so that is very important because it guarantees that cadence of new features. Of course, that files are in their own big box and they are released and made available whenever they're ready. So that's the only exception to that rule. We have a cadence of security releases, and we have WPA3, which is the next generation of security. It was made mandatory for Wi-Fi 6 from the beginning, that is in 2019. It is mandatory for all devices that were certified after, I think it was July 2020. So every new certification now includes WPA3. Of course, we have legacy devices that still have WPA2, but we're hoping that with the refresh cycles, all of that will be taken care of very quickly.
What's the difference within the Wi-Fi Alliance's certifications between something that's mandatory and non-mandatory? You mentioned WPA3 is now mandatory moving forward.
Yes.
How do you determine which things fit on what side of that line?
Okay, a lot of the programs that we have, for example, for optimization are optional programs. So, and those optional programs are in our portfolio to enable manufacturers of devices to differentiate the products based on the market segments that they are going after. So we do have a series of programs that are better suited for managed Wi-Fi networks, and we have a group of them. We have programs that may be better for automotive or for healthcare or for residential Wi-Fi.
But mandatory means they go across the board,
Mandatory is typically,
across
yes,
all.
mandatory, that means any new Fi or any new device that receives a certification, no matter which one, has to comply to that. And that applies to security. So let's say I want to certify a new product for Passpoint. It should include WPA3 because WPA3 is mandatory for all certifications in Wi-Fi Alliance.
So this new QoS you'll be talking to us about, is it in the mandatory or optional?
QoS is an optional program. When optional programs become adopted by the industry, for example, what happened with WMM, and I'm going to be talking about WMM today, it becomes assimilated or it becomes a prerequisite of a particular Fi, therefore becomes mainstream.
It just takes a little while for that to catch on.
It takes, depending on the program, yes, it may take a while. And also there may be programs that we do not want to be make mandatory because they were designed for a particular segment.
Makes sense.
Okay, Keith, and remember, I'm from Colombia. I speak very fast. When I get excited about my programs, I speak even faster. So please remind me because I tend to do that a lot.
It's okay. Most people can hear fast, so go ahead.
Okay, I need to pace myself. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about quality of experience, which is the thumbs up on the slide. And that is features that may help with enhanced mobility, fast roaming, network intelligence. And of course, today our presentation is more focused on QoS features. Wi-Fi Alliance also invests a lot of time and resources in regulatory, and that's advocating for new spectrum and for anything and everything that would make Wi-Fi more successful in the industry. And we always have our new frontiers, and these are things that are coming, like integration with fifth generation networks. We have added features for new programs, new Fis, 60 gigahertz, for example, comes to mind. We also have, what is it, .bf sensing. I remember that you guys like the alphabet soup, and sometimes doesn't come to me easy. We're also looking into 11AC, which is positioning. Of course, BD and BE are in the mirror, in the telescope. So there are more things that will be coming, and we will continue to evolve. But as I said before, today I want to concentrate on the quality of experience and talk about a few programs and that relate to QoS. So you guys know better than I that some applications can tolerate traffic delays, jitter, certain degree of traffic loss, but others cannot. So quality of QoS is really needed when we're talking about non-elastic applications, those that are latency sensitive. And for example, video conferencing, where those applications, in order to really work properly, they need to have priority over applications that are more forgiving and that can better tolerate delay and congestion, like email, web browsing, and so forth. But for quality of service to work, the client device, the application, the operating system, and the wireless network need to recognize the elements of that QoS treatment in their configurations. So for those that have long memories, and some of us do, a while back, IEEE introduced extensions specific to Wi-Fi in 802.11e. They were adopted by Wi-Fi Alliance in a program that we called Wi-Fi Multimedia and came out in 2004. This program, as I mentioned before, is widely adopted. And it was made mandatory, meaning assimilated or made a prerequisite of all PHYs starting with Wi-Fi N. So it's a while back. And what WMM does is it provides prioritized media access based on EDCA, Enhanced Distributed Channel Access. And WMM defined 4 access categories: voice, video, best effort, and background, that are mapped into separate queues. So traffic flows are classified into these categories using what we know of as user priorities, which I think were initially defined in 11D. I don't remember for sure. But each access category then contends for the medium using the same rules, but the difference is that they employ different channel access parameters. And using these parameters, EDCA can guarantee performance differentiation among the different categories. Now, talking about our new program, Wi-Fi Certified QoS Management.
Could you just back up to the old one, the WMM first?
Yeah, okay.
One of the issues with the way contention works in Wi-Fi is you can't guarantee that a higher priority will get through.
No.
You just give them a statistically higher chance of getting through.
Yes.
Unlike in wired network, you could actually starve a queue if you had something else there.
Yes.
So is that one of the things that this new QoS is going to address?
No, we can't. I mean, Wi-Fi goes under wireless, so we have our own issues because of that. We guarantee a level of performance and differentiated performance based on the category. And what we want to do with this new program is to standardize some of those parameters. And also we added additional features in order for example, applications to request QoS treatments.
I'll let you continue.
Wi-Fi Certified QoS Management was certification that was first announced February this year. And we introduced new features, and what we wanted to do is add a consistent approach to QoS treatment across networks. So this program is important because, I mean, WMM defined the extensions for Wi-Fi, but it did not include a standardization on how to consistently map between wired and Wi-Fi networks. And this alignment between wire and wireless is critical, and we have seen that is not the case in the industry by default. So we have seen inconsistencies on how DSCP markings are mapped into the Wi-Fi user priorities. So the first thing that QoS management did is address that and come up with a standardized way. So QoS management adopted RFC 8325 as the default mapping from DSCP to user priorities. And that reconciled the markings between IETF and IEEE. So that's the first step. And it's RFC 8325, I believe, is widely recognized by the industry, and it already represents an agreement among industry players on how those mappings have to be applied. But we can't stop there, because different organizations have different priorities and they want to do different things. So in addition to this standardizing on the default mapping, QoS added a feature that is called Qos Map. And Qos Map was first defined in 11U. I believe it's also included in Passport to a certain extent. and it enables administrators to configure non-default mapping tables into client devices and APs when they think they need to. So this QoS Map feature, now tested in this certification, could be used to change the prioritization of flows, um, which are mapped in certain ways, and also allow for mapping on non-standard DSCP values to be specified. All of this under the control of the network administrator. So that gives the network administrator the ability to implement specific policies that are required in his or her organization. And then once they are configured, they can be pushed out to the client and devices using typical 802.11 signaling at association or after association. But the second feature that we added is mirrored stream classification, MSCS. This is where application in client devices can request a specific QoS treatment to the AP they're associated with.
Now, do they do that? Do they make that request? The application normally talks down the stack to the NIC in the client device, or is there a new way to transport that information to the AP, and then the AP will trigger it?
The AP will mirror. So let me explain a bit more. So what we wanted was to have for those applications that did some sort of discerning treatment as mobile gaming, video conferencing, AR, VR, to have the ability to request differentiated treatment. And this is particularly of use in networks like residential or guest networks, where there may not be, the DSCP markets may not exist for ingress flows downlink coming from the public internet, and or they're not mapped at all. So the new program provides a way for clients and applications to get the app to map flows on the right QoS treatment. And rather than adding the complexity for the clients to understand IP templates to make the request, we introduced this mirroring mechanism that was defined in RevMD. And this mechanism allows the application in a client device to send flows in the app link with the priorities they want, using the right access categories and user priorities. And the AP that mirrors the corresponding IP flows, flipping the source and destination, if I could say that, on the downlink, using whatever treatment that was defined by the client on the downlink.
So an application on a
Again,
phone would have to talk to the client, and the client's Wi-Fi NIC needs to meet this QoS management
yes,
standard. And then it could listen to that
yes.
and then forward it
So,
onto the AP.
yes, that's correct. So there are many applications that we know are now more QoS aware and use specific APIs in their OS in order to request treatments. So if they send the downlink traffic using the prioritization that they desire, the AP would mirror with the priorities that the client requested. And as I said before, this is very useful, particularly in those networks that do not have and do not use meaningful DSCP markings. So we believe this program is going to be eventually, we don't know how long it's going to take, but I hope it will take very little, widely adopted. Because QoS is one of the things that we need to continue to improve in Wi-Fi networks. And at the end, we all want to deliver better quality of experience to our users.
Do you foresee this being used across the board on client devices? I mean, even a little IoT device that's Wi-Fi certified could also apply this QoS management.
Yes, the answer is yes. I don't know how quickly it will be adopted by IoT devices, but if the IoT device is running an application that require special treatment, they should be using this.
Actually, I was thinking the reverse. The IoT devices should be forced, mandatory into having this, and then go down the other way on priority. Because right now they add traffic, but they really don't have a priority. So if they could deprioritize themselves, because they really don't need it, and the rest of the infrastructure could support that. Even if it was, say, a Soho or a small business that doesn't have DSCPs, they could use this mirroring to downshift themselves.
They could, yeah, they could do that. Absolutely, yes.
I'm very
You're right.
optimistic that IoT manufacturers are going to do the right thing.
We all hope for the best. Okay, so the next slide is again on the topic of quality of experience. And I know that you and I talked before about Wi-Fi Vantage. And Wi-Fi Vantage is a designation that we created to help IT managers and operators to identify devices that have adopted or have additional features that make them better qualified to be used in managed networks. And I mentioned before that.
Could you translate this from Wi-Fi Alliance speak, Wi-Fi Vantage, and turn it into 802.11 speak? Are we talking about KVR?
Yes, we are. So I'm going to do that. So the first time that I came and presented, I don't know, a couple of years ago, we were announcing and releasing Vantage for the first time, and we were in release 1. And Vantage release 1 was the latest PHY, which was AC Rev 2. And it included Passpoint. And then we added KVR and 802.11 AI. And the programs are Wi-Fi, Agile Multiband, and Optimized Connectivity. More recently, and that's the latest announcement, in release 3, we moved the bar. So if you imagine Wi-Fi Vantage depicts the current bar for devices to be considered the top of the line. So in Wi-Fi release 3, we made Wi-Fi 6 mandatory. Of course, WPA3 is mandatory, and added a few new features that were made optional, or they were optional in Wi-Fi 6 and made them mandatory to ensure a better quality of experience in managed Wi-Fi networks.
So how would a user who goes and buys a new phone, new tablet, or a new computer, how would they know if their machine is Wi-Fi Vantage certified?
Well, this is where Wi-Fi Alliance talks more. We don't talk a lot to the consumer, I would say. We address more operators and IT managers. And
okay, say an IT manager in a hospital
yes,
wants to
correct.
be Vantage certified, so they could go to their vendor of choice, Aruba, Cisco, Mist, Extreme, and check there if they're Vantage certified.
Correct.
How would they check if the client devices that they're looking for are also certified?
So Wi-Fi Alliance also provides a link to something that we call Product Finder. And Product Finder is available to the public. It's in the public side of our pages. And you can search for a particular device and figure out what certifications that particular device has. And it will have a list of all the certifications for that device. You could download data if you are inquisitive enough in an Excel and figure out a range of devices. And you want to know all devices that have Passpoint or all devices that are Vantage Release 2 certified. You could do that.
Do you know right now, I mean, since you were over the Vantage program, is this something that a lot of infrastructure vendors have already attained that level?
Yes.
So even though it's not required, it's not mandatory in Wi-Fi 6, many vendors have already reached that level in their Wi-Fi 6 devices?
Yes. So Wi-Fi 6 was just announced. So I think that we start seeing a graded adoption on Vantage Release 2, which was the latest version, and Wi-Fi and Vantage Release 3 just starting to ramp up. Because in addition of being Wi-Fi 6, it requires that the device gets Agile Multiband, Optimized Connectivity, Passpoint, and other series of certifications. But yes, you could find a list of devices that have attained that certification. And I think that and the certification is optional. So there may be devices that have the features, but they may have decided not to apply for the Vantage uh, denomination. And this is where I think that if Vantage becomes a more pervasive technology that everybody is seeking for, we will get more vendors to actually click the box that says, okay, show me also on the Vantage list.
How can we, as industry IT people, put that kind of pressure on? We'd love to see more of the vendors do that. Is there anything we can do to help incent
So
them to click that extra blue?
yes, on your RFCs, you could, for example, request Vantage certification and do a bar. At a minimum, I want release 2, for example.
Good point. Easy to add.
Okay. So, I mean, all of the what we're trying to do with Vantage is increase the, and I knew this slide is pretty busy and I didn't know how to do it not as busy, but enhance the mobility of experience as the user is traversing a Wi-Fi network. You enter, you discover, you associate, then you're moving, and then you need to decide where and when to roam, which is the best IP, which is the best network. We need fast authentication in order to ensure that the applications continue to run smoothly. We need the security that WPA3 provides, enhanced open passpoint. We need the ability to onboard and direct, steer a variety of clients, because if you are in a university or a college, you don't know what the kids are going to bring, and who knows what devices you need, end up in your network. And at the end, we just want to include that, enhance that mobility experience when roaming by making it better and as seamless as is possible. So
So on your first slide, the little one that went, the little roundy up and down, one of those balls, the circles, was quality of experience. So are you saying that quality of experience is both QoS, the new QoS management, and Vantage combined give you the best quality of experience?
yes, but let's say that you are talking about a residential network, and in a residential network you have mesh, and maybe you want to use Wi-Fi easy mesh and data elements in order to provide that added value for that particular type of network. And they will also play, and I should have mentioned them on that round bullet when I was talking about quality of experience. And we can have a separate conversation about those two programs because they do bring added functionality, but for residential networks. Okay, so in the same lines of improvements on that quality of experience, Wi-Fi optimized connectivity, which is a core program already included in Vantage. We this month, about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we announced added features, and they're important because, well, two things. We added new metrics for IP selection and discovery. And we also align the discovery mechanisms that are implemented in 6E with those in optimized connectivity, so that if a device already has the software developed because they came out with 6E first, and they wanted to extend that discovery to 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, they could do so by using optimized connectivity. And that simplification, I think, would make this program more valuable because it would provide that alignment between 2.4, 5, and 6.
I like the idea here, and the optimized connectivity makes perfect sense. My frustration is, as long as it's optional, we don't know as IT professionals if we can rely on it. So we have to design around it as if it's not there. So it's a wonderful idea, but until the vendors, both on the infrastructure side and the client side, adopt it, we still have to design networks assuming it's not there.
But you can influence, because you can say, I want Vantage release 2, for example. And that
We will
includes
attempt.
optimized connectivity. Anyway, so that
My
is
point is the Wi-Fi Alliance could do it much better if you just said Wi-Fi 6 mandatory, QoS mandatory, Vantage mandatory, optimized connectivity. We would all cheer for you. I
yes,
know that's
I
not
think that would be
realistic.
ideal. But I think that then the bar will be way too high for vendors to come out with devices as soon as the market would want to have them. And we have all these optional programs with hopes that they're widely adopted and then they will become part of the main PHY. As an example, okay, that's a good example. Wi-Fi Agile Multivand, which translate to the alphabet soup of K, V, and R, correct? It adds steering to clients, the ability to balance the network and visibility towards the network to help you better manage resources. That was an optional certification that is now mandatory in Wi-Fi 6 and after. So it already moved very quickly to the main the main fives.
Oh,
So
and I love
it
it.
happens.
I just wish it went a
Yes,
little faster.
yes. So why KVR is already there, is mandatory for all Wi-Fi 6 devices. And now we have optimized connectivity. We're hoping that it gets to the same place. And after that, we hope that QoS gets to that level as well.
We can always hope.
Yes, yes. So that's all I had for today, unless you have added questions for me.
No, that was great. Do you know of any vendor who's already started down the path of getting ready for the QoS management certification? Are there vendors in the
Right,
queue for that now?
yes. So I know of vendors that are working right now with the public announcement that came out. We had announcement from silicon vendors that support the technology. And I have to say that for QoS management, we have tremendous interest, and they are also working in added features that will come out as part of the feature release 2021 at the end of the year and most likely announced early 2022.
Consuelo,
Okay,
thanks for
perfect.
your time today. Next time you have something new, get in touch and we'll have you come back.
Okay, thank you, Keith. It was very nice talking to you and talking to your audience, and we'll love to come back.
Thank you very much.